Today's reading will come from Chop Wood, Carry Water by Joshua Metcalf. Building Your Own House. The next day was hot and muggy. John sweated as he drove his axe through log after log. His shoulders ached as he hauled bucket after bucket of water from well into the house, and his hands began to blister from the friction of the axe handle. It was frustrating watching men old enough to be in retirement homes chop wood and carry water so effortlessly, but he kept working, remembering Akira's words that shooting will come soon enough. Finally, after the day's work had finished, Akira took John aside. He handed him a cool cup of water and told him a story. He told John that in Japan they have a deep love for architecture, and there was once a man named Koda who built some of the finest houses in all of Tokyo. His work became world famous due to his dedication to the process, his willingness to beat on his craft, and his relentless devotion to keep learning, even late into his career. Eventually, though, Koda grew tired of building homes for other people, and he was ready to retire. He had been building homes for over 30 years, and he was ready to move on. He wanted to travel and spend lots of time with his grandkids. One day, Koda approached his boss and turned in his 2 weeks' notice. His boss said, "Koda, we are forever indebted to you for your magnificent work you have done for our company, and we are so grateful you have worked for us for so long. We do have one favor to ask of you, though. Could you please build one more house? It is a very important house for a very important client, and everyone in the company agreed it needs your magic touch." Koda was frustrated. He would have to cancel 2 trips and postpone his new life, all for one house. He told his boss that he needed a day to think about it. After talking it over with his wife, he gave in and decided he would build one more house. But, he told his boss, this is the very last one. But while Koda had agreed with his head to build the last house, his heart was no longer in it. He had always been very hands-on through the entire building process, always selecting the finest materials by hand and making sure every detail was diligently tended to. But this house was different. He viewed it more as an obligation than an opportunity. He delegated much of the work, and consequently, a lot of things started slipping through the cracks. The house would be up to code, but as it started to come together, it was obvious that it lacked the wow factor that Koda's other homes were known for. Koda knew in his heart that this was far from his best work, but he was over it and ready to move on to the next phase of his life. The next phase was much more appealing and important to him than the present phase. After 4 months had passed, Koda finally finished the house. He went back to his boss, telling him, "I did what you asked. Now I am asking one last time for your blessing to retire." His boss said, "Thank you, Koda. We just have one more thing." Now Koda was beginning to get really upset because he thought they were going to ask him to build another house. His boss reached into his desk and pulled out a very small black box with a red ribbon tied around it. He handed the box to Koda and said, "We are so grateful for you, Koda. This gift is a token of our appreciation." Koda pulled the ribbon, opening the box to discover a set of shiny new keys. His boss smiled. "The house is yours. You deserve it." Immediately his heart sank. Unbeknownst to Koda, the whole time he had been building his own house. If he had only known he was building his own house, he would have cared so much more. He would have only used the finest materials, and he would have overseen every detail and given it his all like he had always done. But now, it was too late. Akira looked at John and said, "The only thing that is truly significant about today or any other day is who you become in the process. Each of us are building our own house. Sometimes you might think you are building it for your school, your family, your company, or your team, but you are always building your own house. I hope you build wisely." The story hit home for John, and he really started to think deeply about his own life. He sat in silent contemplation while wondering if he had been building his house wisely.